Oh my goodness. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I have this great training planned for you guys. So this is basically, I titled it Why I Hate Propstream for finding and analyzing deals. So many people rely on other software, other things to help them do the job, right? And it keeps you stuck. And this is why so many people have analysis paralysis and they don't understand the numbers. Let me help you out here today because it drives me nuts to see people, oh, well, I use Propstream or List Source or all of this to get my leads. Well, that's great in some sources, some ways, but not to totally lean on. And here's why. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Joanne Wright, founder of Bottom Line Wealth, where I help entrepreneurs to build wealth in real estate and keep more of the money they make. I totally geek out on the tax and legal strategy of things. I started as a mortgage broker way back in 2000. And so I understand loans and I'm a licensed realtor, so I understand the realtor side of it. And so knowing all of these factors and my own real estate investing, what I've had to accomplish in wholesale, fix and flip, buy and hold, and money lending are all the different strategies that I train on because that's what I have done in my experience. So I come from a lot of experience into how to analyze a deal. I have written thousands of offers. I've helped thousands of students across the nation. And this is why I hate Propstream for finding and analyzing deals. I'll give you a real quick example as to why, because a particular property that I sold in California, it 3 years later, people are still sending me those yellow letters and postcards. Hey, you want to sell your deal? Like, I sold it a long time ago. So the data is old. The data is old. So you're only as good as the company who gets the data from the county, right? So the county has to be up to date, first of all. And then the person that's updating the systems, because they don't get it automatically, right? And they're in the business of selling leads. So they're going to do what they can to sell a lead to you. Okay. So I wanted to go over this. Let me share my screen real quick so that you guys can see what I'm talking about. I made this cute little document so that you can see what I'm talking about. So the reason I have issues with Propstream is because it's too general, right? It's too general. The data is only good as the maker. It could be Propstream, it could be List Source, it could be Property Radar, Foreclosure Radar. Like, there are so many software companies out there that want to provide you leads, that are in the business of providing leads. So if they don't have a bunch of leads available for you, like, they pack in some old stuff, right, to sell you leads. And it's not really ethical. And not all of them do it. So just beware. But there are some reasons why I dislike like all of them. And I've used Property Radar, Foreclosure Radar. I've been in Propstream. I've been in List Source. What was the other one? Oh my God, I'll think of it. But each time I've gone into different lead generating softwares, I had issues. So, and here's what I found. My experience is yours to take today, right? So the data is only good as the maker, right? Like I was saying, they have to go and get the information from the county in order for their systems to be up to date and available for you. And what makes it a vacant house? How did they see that it was a vacant house? That's someone researching, and it may not be vacant. So I've gotten a hold of data where it wasn't a vacant house, even though Propstream or the list source that I had was saying that it was, right? They're too general. There's not enough detail. It takes the average of the neighborhood, and it's assuming It's not because someone's standing there and they knocked on the door and now they see it's a vacant house or it's a disgruntled landlord. How do they know it's a disgruntled landlord, right? Anyway, so this kind of I'm taking the magic out of the sale for you, and I apologize, but I do have good news, so stay tuned. They take the average of what's going on in the neighborhood. They don't really, it's not one-on-one information. And this is what gets investors stuck, right? It's because they're taking someone else's assumption of what's going on with that seller. And now you're calling saying, hey, I see you're in pre-foreclosure, or saying something odd that makes people hang up on you. Now I give a whole script for my clients to say that gets them to pay attention, but I'm saying this is what the average person is doing. And again, the leads are pretty much old. 9 times out of 10, well, maybe 7 times out of 10. How about that? They do provide value. They do provide leads. They're just not always great leads, right? So take it for a grain of salt. And then when they try to give you a comp, it's too general, right? Or they'll go too far out. So look at the address, plug it into Google Maps, whatever you use, and see how far it is yourself. Don't just rely on the software. Okay. Think about your money versus time. I mean, do you have time to go to the courthouse yourself? Like, you could go there, you could take, a half hour out of your day, drive down to the courthouse, say, hey, I'm looking for, notices of default or les pendants or those with water shut off or whatever it is that you're looking for, right? And you can get a list from the courthouse. Might be $20 depending on how many leads you get. But there is a service fee for that, but it's super cheap, right? So you can go there yourself. You can have one of your team members go. If you have a team, you have an acquisition team doing this. So depending on the level, because I train on beginning, intermediate, and scale, right? So depending on where you're at and what strategy you're using, right? If you're looking to run a wholesale business or a fix and flip business, you're going to need this data on a regular basis, okay? So you can hire someone to go down and get it and do the skip tracing for you. You can run that skip tracing information. You can batch leads is another one. There's skip trace. There's all kinds of ways that you can skip trace. You can even do this. So if you're trying to save money, you could do this for $35 for the year, I think it is, for white pages, and you can stick them in individually. And white pages will give you the email, the phone number. Spokio does that too. So there's ways that you can skip trace yourself if you're really trying to, not spend much money. Because I think Propstream is like, for the basic is $99 a month, and you can upgrade and spend more for different things. Plus you have to pay for skip tracing anyways. So you might as well pay for skip tracing that is on a valid lead, right? And not an old lead that they just had in their system and they haven't gotten rid of yet. So yeah, these are some of the other ways that you can find deals. You can speak to property managers, friends, and then having your social media state things like we buy houses on your profile. I could spell profile here. Here we go. And then being able to, please do not do yellow letters if you're just starting out. No yellow letters. Don't try and find automation that just does auto dialer and it dumps into the voicemail. Hey, this is Bob. I'm calling you because I want to buy your house. Don't do that. Because, I mean, we hate it when people do it to us. You want to be a human being connecting to another human being and being of resource. I do a whole training for my clients on how to talk to sellers, how to be chosen out of hundreds of other investors that are knocking on their door. And it's what people are doing out there is kind of a disgrace to be able to, I feel bad for the sellers, let's just say, right? I feel bad for the sellers Anyway, so that's a whole nother story, a whole nother training. Can you find a deal on Propstream? Absolutely. I'm not saying you can't. I just say I don't like it. Maybe hate's a strong word, but I don't like Propstream. I don't like automated systems like that. Anything that's automated has a chance of being faulty. So, and you're never going to know because you didn't get educated on what would be right in the first place. And that's what I found out. That's what I found out is I was relying too heavily on list source leads from data companies and doing deal analyzers that were a calculation already preset for me. And then what's the other thing? Oh, like relying on average price per square foot in the market, right? Like Redfin will give you that. Redfin.com, Zillow, they'll give you the average that's in the neighborhood, right? But let me tell you how you can find it yourself. You need to know the data. So the best way to analyze a deal is basically to know the pretty numbers and know the ugly numbers. You might be going, Joanna, what the heck is the difference? So what happens on a lot of software companies is they'll say, here, click here for comps. And they'll give you rundown homes, and then they'll give you gorgeous homes. And it's giving you an average of them, right? What that's supposed to be. It's not the real number, right? It's an average. And people tend to stay in the average and they don't analyze what the true number should be, right? They just do assumptions because it's an average. So what I teach my clients to know is, so the pretty number is the ARV number, right? The after repair value. It can't get any higher, any better than the ARV because it's got a brand new kitchen, brand new floor, brand new roof, everything's brand new. It's the best you could be in the neighborhood. So you're going to grab those numbers, right? And if you're buying an ugly house, that's what we do as investors, we buy ugly houses, if you will, houses that need value added to them, if you want to put it in that form. And we take that number and we see what we can make it, right? That's where we're going to the ARV. But what we need to understand is the ugly number. Now, just because a realtor listed it for $100,000 doesn't mean it's worth that, right? So here's the market, right? Did they price it above the market, at the market, or below the market? How do you know, right? This is why it's so important to know the ugly numbers. You have to compare ugly to ugly, apples to apples. You cannot take the average of the pretty numbers and expect to buy correctly on the ugly houses. Just saying. So the average, averaging out comps is not where it's at. Okay. You can't just take the average of both of those. You have to take the average of 3 pretty and 3 ugly. Get those averages, right? And so now you know what the average highest price could be and the average where the low price should be, right? And here's where a lot of people mess up. And even Redfin messes up because Redfin will say, here's some sold properties in the area that you can compare this to. And that property is not even within the mile area. At least one of them or 2 of them is not even in the area, or it's on the other side of a divide, okay, like a freeway, a park, a waterway source, a lake. It's in a different neighborhood, right? It's in a different across. So everyone has like a Martin Luther King or Main Street. If you've crossed over the railroad tracks or that main street, you're now entering into a different neighborhood. So even though it may be a half a mile away, it's still a different neighborhood. And softwares don't see that. They just go, oh, radius, and these are the comps in the area. So you have to know what you're looking at. Okay. And this can get you into trouble. This is where a lot of investors fail. A lot of investors fail. And I was in a group, and this gal said, I did really good on my first flip. I only lost $31,000. So do you want to be that person that loses $31,000 or gains additional $31,000 because you did the numbers correctly? Just saying. So you need it within 1/4 of a mile and within 200 square foot of the subject property. So if the subject property is 1,000 feet, you're going to take it 200 less or 200 more of that square footage. So 1,200 square feet was 8 feet or 8 feet, 800 square feet to 1,200. So that's your range. You're not going to look just because it's on the corner. It's 2,000 square feet. It's not 1,200 square feet. So it's not a comp, right? So I've had so many people, they're like, but this house sold for, and the realtor wouldn't, list it for more and blah, blah, blah. Well, because that's a different kind of house, and it's a bigger house, or it's a smaller house, or it's a, whatever it is. So know that it's within 200 square foot of the property or within 1/4 of a mile. If you cannot find this data, you're too far out from the city center. So I teach my clients to not go into city center, but to go just outside of city center. And if you go too far out and you're like urban and farm area, you get a lot of unique properties that you can't comp out. There's not enough comparables in the area. So if you're just starting out, stick to what is cookie cutter, right? Until you can get the numbers down. It's not until you become more intermediate or experienced in this business that you can analyze and understand a scaled or take the risk factor of something that is outside of the norm, right? That is cookie cutter. So just keep that in mind. So people say, well, that investor did. Well, that investor has the experience, has the money, has the threshold to take the risk, right? So know where you're at, beginning, immediate, or scale, okay? You don't want it too unique, right? It could be overdeveloped from the area, and there's ways that you cannot comp it out. And the fourth thing here, in addition to that, using the deal analyzer, don't rely on the calculated numbers, right? Don't rely on just bids from the contractors. And here's why. You don't know what that number contains. Someone just says, oh, $30,000. Well, what does it contain? What is it that you're doing, right? Go down the list of what they're doing, because maybe you don't need to tear out the whole kitchen. Maybe you just redo the cabinet doors, right? Because a contractor's going to bid for the most work. I'm going to take out all the kitchen. I'm going to do all of this. Maybe it's too much work, right? So maybe you can get away with $15,000, right? Or maybe not. Maybe that contractor didn't see a couple of different things and it should be $80,000. How do you know? How do you know? And this is what I teach my clients to learn. So don't rely on just calculated numbers from a software, a deal analyzer. Don't just rely on that. Know what it's analyzing. Okay, I have a deal analyzer that I'll show you. But if you don't know what it's calculating or where it found the numbers, then it's of no use to you, right? You need to know where it's going on. Don't rely on the bids. Know what the bids are and have them walk you through it, right? Because what if also they're saying, oh, your flooring is going to cost, what is it, $3 a square foot, when you can actually get something that's $1.75 a square foot. So you could change that number. Okay, so I've been in this business for over 20 years and I've seen a lot of things. So I'm just saying, understand your bids. Okay. So deal analyzers are good for a quick and dirty. You could punch in the numbers and go, okay, this looks like something I should pursue. Now let's dive into the details and see what the actual numbers are. Don't just rely on the quick and dirty number, okay? Quick and dirty is an average, an about, can possibly do this deal. And now you want to see if it's worth pursuing and get down to the nitty gritty, right? So you don't want just an average. It's not good enough. You don't want just the average of price per square foot, right? You don't want the average sale price. You want to know what the average is of the pretty and the ugly, not the whole neighborhood, okay? Redfin, like I mentioned, gives you the same data. You can go on there and they're not always exact on where that property is. It could be 2 miles away. You need to stick within a mile and hopefully within a quarter mile for a comp, okay? And it could be, 700 square foot difference. So know the square footage. So it includes too many variables, and the lender's not going to approve you. So here's the scary part where I've seen a lot of BRRRR strategy people trying to do the BRRRR strategy, and they get stuck because they're no longer at the 70% where a lender will lend. Their value has now changed. The equity has now changed in their property. Their numbers have completely changed because now that a lender's looking at it, they're like, nope, you didn't do your numbers right. So I'm trying to save you that step by knowing your numbers up front. And I know you want to do a deal. And sometimes we push too hard to do a deal and then we get stuck in a money pit and a bad deal, right? So I'm trying to save you guys from that. I'd rather have you not do the deal than to get in a deal and be stuck for another $50,000, $100,000 in the hole. Okay. So to actually run down the numbers in closing here real quick, I'm just going to run these down. You start with the ARV, right? So write this down. You start with the ARV and then you minus the repairs. Okay. You minus the holding costs. Listing if you're going to sell it within the year, okay? And then there's this oops factor, and it's basically just a contingency. I've opened up so many walls, and we're like, oh, there's another $10,000, right? You never know what's behind the wall, and I don't just put lipstick, carpet, paint on houses. I tear walls down, I tear things out, I bring up floors, I rewire, I rearrange. The kitchen from the back of the house to the front of the house and, chop up slab cements, all new plumbing, all new wiring. So I'm in all the way down to the studs when I do a house. Okay. And when you open up those walls, you have no idea what you're going to find. Okay. So always add another, 1 to 2% contingency factor on there. And the profit for your flipper. So if you're going to wholesale it, right? This is either you or the flipper. And again, holding costs are typically utilities, the mortgage, if you have a mortgage on it. Listing fees, again, is the realtor. That's 3 to 6%. And then your oops factor is like 1 to 2. Let me just mark that in there so you guys get it. 1 to 2%. Realtor fees is anywhere from 3 to 6%, and holding cost is your utilities, loan, anything that you have to pay while you're holding the property, right? Utilities, loan, and then this repairs could be straight from a contractor, or you can figure out the repairs yourself, right? The profit, my minimum is $35,000. Like if I'm doing a flip, there better be 35 at the end of that or greater. And I'm usually 50 to 80,000, if not more. That's my range. 50 to 80,000 is what I make on a flip. And 6 figures is not out of the question. So know what your flipper is going to do if you're wholesaling it, what their minimum is, right? And then add your wholesale fee too. Is that 5, 10, 20 grand? What is it? So once you minus all of those, right? Once you minus above. This is your max purchase offer. Okay. So you start with 200,000 at the ARV, and then you minus repairs, minus holding, minus, and then the bottom number is your max purchase offer that you can make. Okay. So just to recap here, I want to go over the deal analyzer real quick. Let's just say that you have a property for 200,000 is the ARV. The purchase price is 100. I just did some dirty numbers here so that you can see. And maybe the estimated repairs are 5,000, or maybe they're 15,000, right? Whatever the number is, you can change it, and you can see it changes the numbers over here. What's great about this calculator is I really want you guys to know what your numbers are, right? So you could put in a dishwasher and it'll give you the price here and calculate it here. Okay. If you just get a bid, you could put it here. So either way, I want you to learn the numbers. So look up Home Depot, right? Or Lowe's, whatever hardware store you shop at. What does a dishwasher cost that you might install? Oh, $450. Or maybe you want some high end and it costs 1,000. You put 1,000 in there, right? And then it will calculate all of these and add them up. Okay, so you see how you get to learn what stuff costs, and it'll add it at the bottom here. Okay, so now you have your number and you add it to here. You add the repair costs to here. Okay, so whatever this totals up to, it's just an example I put here. So I didn't really fill out much of these numbers, but you know, your bathroom here, it's got it totally dialed out with, you know, windows, if you're going to do windows, a toilet, you know, the kitchen, everything, the linear foot for the flooring. So there's a way you can put these in here. If you look it up on Home Depot and plug it in here, you'll get a total. And now you'll know if your contractor is on point, right? Obviously, he adds labor to it, so don't forget that part of it. Don't think he's totally squirrely. There's a lot of great contractors out there, but there's a lot of squirrely ones too, right? So you want to know if he's on point with, you know, if he's charging you $700 for a disposable, you know, or to do the kitchen sink, you know, you'll know how much of that is labor, and you go, wow, okay. So, you know, on average, 15 to 30,000 is a good repair for a house. I'm usually in the neighborhood of 70 to 100,000 because I take it all down to the studs. Okay, so know what that number is. If you get the ability to ask 3 different contractors, that would be gold, because each contractor is going to give you a different number and what they feel needs to be taken out, or what they can repurpose, right? So you could take the average of the 3 contractors, if they have the time to actually go give you a bid, because, you know, contractors are kind of scarce right now. Get a handyman out there to see what the repairs are and try and come up with those numbers yourself if need be. And this calculator will help you dial that in. So once you do that, if you know there's going to be a loan attached to it, you could just fill in the loan information here. If there's a loan origination fee, it's usually 1 to 3%. So whatever it is, you just type that in here and it calculates how much that's going to cost you. An appraisal fee, typically around $450 to $600, depending on the property in the area. Inspection fee, $175. It depends on your area. I've seen it higher, definitely. Insurance on the property, title insurance is usually 1%. So know your numbers here. You can get that from your lender. And then in escrow, you can get that information as well, what those fees are. And anything additional that you don't see here, just add in the miscellaneous section, and it'll total it all for you with a total right in the bar here. So the reason this is set at 70%, because that's typically what you're going to get from a lender, right? They want to see either 20 or 35% down. So the typical is 70. So we're taking that and we're putting it there. So your loan amount will be around 80,000 Okay. So you'll need this out of pocket to come down. You can get that either yourself or from a private money lender to participate in this. There's all kinds of ways to get that earnest money and down payment down to close this. So you'll be a total of, let's see, some closing costs for that. That totals 37. And then how many months is it going to take to sell? So are you flipping it? Maybe it's in 6 months, right? So here's the cost of, and you have a mortgage payment at 6%. Here's the cost that that's going to be. So you need to know that's part of your holding cost we were talking about, right? It's part of your holding cost. What are your taxes? Here's your operating utilities. Remember I said you need to have these down. Let's see, your listing fee, your holding cost, right? That's your loan and utilities. You can see all of that here. Okay, that's how you can get that number. Sales commission, if there's a commission involved, closing cost, listing fee, whatever those numbers are, just dial them in here. If they want to do it for 1%, just put in 1. It will calculate it for you. Okay, so here you can see how this profit is going to look. All of this is calculated. Now, the repair stuff here is sidebar. It's calculated by this number up here. So whatever number you end up here is how this is calculated. Okay. I know you're going to have a lot of questions, so I'm happy to jump on a call. You can meet with my group specialist, and she can see how she can help you further. Her name is Sarah, and I'm happy to jump on a call with you if you want to understand how to do the deal analyzer a whole lot better, so that you know your numbers. You're not just guessing because, well, I put this number there and hopefully that's right. This is all a calculation that I teach. The deal analyzer just makes it quicker so that you can jump in there, punch a number and go, I think I'm going to do this deal. Now let's get down to the nitty gritty, right? So hopefully this is helpful for you to understand what your net profit could be on this. And your max purchase offer is the 70% rule, right? That they go over is $80,000. So if you have the purchase price of $100,000 and you're getting a loan, you know now that it's, $80,000, right? So hopefully that's helpful. I know you're going to have questions, so go ahead, type either below, send me a DM, or we'll jump on a call. So know that Propstream and deal analyzers are just too general. You have to know your numbers, or you'll get stuck when you want to either flip it, sell it later, refinance it, do the BRRRR strategy. Rates have changed, and a lot of people that were buying to do the BRRRR strategy had to change it up a little bit because all their numbers changed. All their numbers changed. So know your money versus time, where to use it wisely. Okay. Get out of analysis paralysis by knowing your numbers and not just going, oh, I think this will work because Propstream said it would, right? Like, know your numbers. And then the actual max purchase offer rundown, which is right here. Knowing all of this will really help you in confidence in making a great offer. So again, I hope this was helpful for you. I just wanted to make this, it was supposed to be a really short video. But again, I really want you to know your numbers, get out of analysis paralysis, and have a great day. Have fun doing real estate. Have fun doing real estate. So I'll see you guys on the next training. Take care. We'll see you then. Bye.